Tuesday edition of the show. All across America on SportsMap Radio. All over the world on the SportsMap Radio app. It's good to have you with us. Live from Studio J, I am Jason Page. Thank you for being a part of the show. We got a busy night ahead. It's a busy night every night. Even tonight, with no Stanley Cup final, with no NBA final, we've got plenty of baseball to sink our teeth into. Maybe we'll do a live baseball bet somewhere along the way. I got the Yankees and Mariners to my left. I don't have anything to my right. But I got the Yankees and Mariners to my left. So that's going to do. Again, it's tough. We have got to get back into a regular routine of this show. We've off this amount, off for vacation, doing half weeks, miss a Friday, Memorial Day on a Monday, knocks us out for a day. Then we're back. It's so hard to get into the rhythm of doing a show when you're not doing them every day. And in my case, and not to pick bones here on the air and bring out, company business, but I'm with different producers on different nights, and that kind of plays into it as well. I love everybody I work with, but when you're working with different people on different nights, it's different chemistry. It's like having different dance partners. It's like if you're a ballroom dancer and you got different dance partners. Or I'll take it away from ballroom dancing. Not that I've ever ballroom danced in my life, and say it's like if you're the lead singer of a band, and a different night you have a different guitarist, and some nights you might have a different drummer, and some nights you might have a different bassist. It's hard to create the same sound every night. And that's just being honest. But we do the best we can and provide you the best evening show from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern that we possibly can. Actually, no, I'm really not. I'm really not. Not true. Not true, man. I think monogamy. See, now you got me going. Don't even get me going in this direction, because people will find out way more than they would ever want to know about my opinions on these things. I am not a monogamy guy. Nope. Overrated. Totally overrated. I really do. I think it's complete. Now, I'm not like, have 17 sister wives kind of guy. I just think monogamy in general. Oh my God! What a terrible error, Anthony Volpe. If you're going to hit 198, you've got to make routine plays in the field. I just think the whole idea of one person forever and ever, boring. It just is. You show me most monogamous couples, I will show you miserable couples. They won't admit it, but they're miserable couples. And I'm not talking about. Oh, don't even get me. Why did you do this? Yes, I know, but it's like, I'm like a dog. If you hold out a treat in front of me, I'm going to be like, this is great. And then if you hold a different treat out in front of me, I'll abandon that one and be like, yeah, I want that one. And then if you hold out a different, it's like dog, tree, car, street line. I'm easily distracted. Yeah, poly producer. Yeah, I got you. That's Charles Carter, by the way. He is sister wife number 2 tonight. You are. That's what I mean. Your sister wife too. Brian is the original like OG sister wife, and then Austin and Justin. I've got like 4 of y'all, and. You did. You were in like the shed. You weren't even in a guest house. You were in like the shed. Now you got your own guest house, and at least you get visits every now and then, Yeah, it's good though. Yes, you do. So anyway, a lot to do tonight on the show. Our 2 for 1 tonight. Please just find a way to veer out of this, because everybody's going to think I'm some crazy polygamist with like 7 husbands. No, it's not like that at all. And if my significant other is listening, you are the only one. All of you. Truth be told, we got a great show tonight. 2 for 1. We've got 2 different hits we're going to do. Mike Wilner will join us from the Toronto. Oh, boy. Is it bad that I can't remember? I think it's the Toronto Star that Mike Wilner is going to join us from, and give us some thoughts on this crazy situation going on right now with the Toronto Blue Jays and their relief pitcher, Anthony Bass, who put his foot in his mouth and is now backtracking and kind of not backtracking and trying to basically keep his job because he knows he's in a world of trouble for some things he put out on social media. I'll get to that coming up. Also, we will be joined by Daryl Guru Johnson, our good friend from 95.7 The Game in San Francisco, where he hosts the midday show with Matt Steinmetz, sorry. And the two of them host the midday show over there. Guru and I are going to talk about Bob Myers because the longtime general manager of the Golden State Warriors has decided to call it quits. Walking away from a potential contract extension with the organization. What does it all mean? We'll get into that with Daryl Guru Johnson. I will also have a big announcement coming up just after the 8 p.m. Pacific hour, 11 p.m. Eastern, about this long-awaited TV project we've been working on. You're going to want to stick around for that as well. So all of that still to come in the show. I told you all last week when we left here, the Miami Heat were going to win this series. It may have taken longer than you thought. It may have gone one game longer than I thought it would. But the Miami Heat are going to the NBA Finals. Now, they may get absolutely pistol whipped by the Denver Nuggets. But then again, everybody had them as an underdog in every single series of this postseason. So basically, they have you right where they want them. Because they've been underestimated, underappreciated, undermanned, and now that's going to change because they're going to get Tyler Hero back, which means, it takes a little bit of the load off of some of these other guys, this crop of undrafted free agents that have basically helped get this team to an NBA final, obviously along with Jimmy Butler. But the story of this postseason is obviously twofold. Yes, it's who we have going to the NBA Finals. But at the same time, one of the things, that's going to come out of this postseason is what happened in Boston to the Celtics. I'm sure the show that was on before me probably had a field day talking about the whole situation with Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics team and where they go from here. I swear to you, the NBA offseason, and I don't think this is hyperbolic, and I know people are going to say this is a crazy take to have. The NBA offseason this year is going to be better than the NBA Finals that you're going to get starting on Thursday night. Let that soak in for a second. The NBA, thank you. The NBA offseason is going to be loaded with so much drama, so much potential player movement, and the reshaping potentially of so many different franchises, whether it's new coaches, whether it's, the Celtics and Jaylen Brown, whether it's where's Kyrie Irving going, who is LeBron James going to surround himself with? Is he even going to play next year? There are so many different things. Who's going to be the new GM of the Warriors? There are so many stories. Victor Wembanyama, who goes second in the draft. So many different stories are going to mesh together to make for one of the most interesting NBA off seasons that we have seen. And meanwhile, you're going to have an NBA final that could potentially be a snoozer. I hope I'm wrong. This is one time where, my goodness, I would pay to be wrong because I love the NBA. I love watching the NBA championship, the finals, the pageantry. Two teams both going for their, well, I shouldn't say two teams. Two players. One team, but two players going for potential championships. Jimmy Butler trying to finally get his first. What you had, with Nikola Jokic trying after the back-to-back MVPs and the runner-up this year. and the Nuggets as an organization trying to get their first title. I mean, this is what you sign up for. But I'm afraid watching, if anybody's watched this postseason and has a different opinion on it, I want to hear it. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can also text the show at 888-670-8549. From anywhere in America, anywhere at all, go ahead. 888-670-8549. The cash-in text line is available to you. I'd like somebody to make an argument, and if the argument is simply, well, the one that I made, they've been underestimated this entire postseason and they were able to still win all these series, I think it's a big step up in class. I think Denver was going to beat either of these teams, whether it was the Celtics or whether it was the Miami Heat. And I've heard some rhetoric coming out of Miami already that would give me some pause as to whether or not they have a chance in this NBA final. I'll tell you what that is coming up on the other side. Maybe some live betting for baseball, too, to talk about when we come back. I'm Jason Page. We're just getting started. It's the Cash In on a Tuesday. It's SportsMap Radio. Got a froggy in my throat. I hope it's not, but I fear that's what we're talking about. Hold on one second. I gotta charge my phone before it dies. So both interviews this hour I did before the show today. So one at 30 and one at 45. Yep. And then they'll replay in the last hour. Tomorrow night. Are you working tomorrow night? Who's tomorrow? You know? Yeah, no worries. So what do you got today? So what are you this week? Tuesday and... Okay. And Brian is Thursday, which means Justin's probably tomorrow. And Aaron Judge is in God mode right now. Dude is just out of this world. I'll talk about it later. Of course, just as I say Aaron Judge is in God mode, he strikes out. That's it. Start of a slump. I just set it all in motion. Continuing on the cash in, No, come on, go ahead. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Is what it is. So anyway, we'll be joined coming up in 15 minutes by Mike Wilner. Should I do Mike Wilner? Maybe I'll do Daryl Guru Johnson. I can't decide. I'm not sure which one I want to do. It's up to me. It's my show, right? Do what I want to do. That's pretty funny. There is something that I find alarming, and it gives me pause with even making the value bet of the century, which would be Miami plus 360 to win the series, which is their odds right now. And it just keeps going the wrong way. I mean, game one of the NBA Finals odds, Miami is plus 9 for game one. Has there ever been an NBA Finals with a spread that large? I'm sure somebody can tell me. There's somebody who probably has looked that up. That would take a require of homework that I just didn't do today. But Miami plus 9 for game one feels like a huge number by NBA Finals. I mean, you're talking about the two best teams at the end of the season. Yeah, that's what's funny, though, about this whole thing. You know, the NBA Championship Series is designed to take the two best teams and put them on the same court together. But is anybody going to really try to make the argument that the two best teams in the NBA are meeting up in the NBA Finals right now? Put your hand down, you're lying. Nobody's going to, you could not make that argument. It's the two teams that got hottest at the end of the season. And look, I get it. That's what the playoffs are for. It's the final exam, right? Or maybe you call the NBA Finals the final exam. I don't know. That was the midterms. I don't know. But to me, trying to make the argument that the Miami Heat and Denver Nuggets are the two best teams in the NBA facing off for a championship. All right, you want to go with that? Go ahead. And that's why when we get into this conversation about, and this is usually a media-driven conversation. We'll start to say, well, who's going to watch this NBA final? This is going to be one of the lowest-rated NBA finals. The only thing that could salvage this NBA final is if it is a long series. Get a couple of really good games, game one and game two, where they go late into the game. They split the first two. Now people are saying, maybe Miami's got a chance in this thing, and they tune in. But the going in thought is Miami's going to get their doors blown off in this series. There's no other way this could go. As great a story as it is for Jimmy Butler and this team to find itself in an NBA final. As great as a story as it is that, Eric Spoelstra has 6 appearances in the NBA Finals in 13 years. As much as all of that sounds great, get you juiced up, get you excited, at the end of the day, there's just not a lot. And Nikola Jokic, for all of his ability and his ability to slow the game down, people in Omaha, Nebraska, people in Seattle, people in LA, people in Boston, people in New York, they are not going to tune in big numbers to watch Nikola Jokic amble up and down the floor and play YMCA style basketball. They're just not going to do it. And I think he is a phenomenal player. And I love to watch it as a basketball purist because he's not the most athletic guy. He could probably barely jump up and touch the rim despite being 7 feet tall. Like I said, he just ambles up and down the floor. He's not running hard. What's the answer to your question? 95 Rockets were a bigger underdog? Okay. Against the Magic. Was that 95? That was Shaq's first year. right? Wasn't that when Shaq? I thought that 95 Magic team was 95 Magic was Shaq's rookie year or something. No, maybe not his rookie year. Shaq's Orlando Magic. Let me see. Now you got me curious. I don't think it was his rookie year, but it was early in his career. Yeah, it was Shaq, Penny, Horace Grant, Nick Anderson. I mean, that was a great Magic team. 57-25. Won the Atlantic Division that year. Top offensive team in the league. Got swept in the finals by the Rockets. No, the Rockets, but the Rockets that year, oh, that's right. Rockets that year were 47-35. Yeah, and just a run-of-the-mill team. 8th in offense, middle of the pack in defense. Never forget the heart of a champion. Yeah, give you a little Rudy Tom. But there's something I'm hearing out of Miami that's giving me pause already. And it feels a bit like what we saw in the NHL with the New Jersey Devils when they beat the Rangers in, I don't know, what was it, 4 or 5 games. I mean, they came back after losing the first 2 games of the series, and the Devils beat the Rangers in 7 games, second round of the NHL postseason. And Devils fans were elated. The Devils were really excited, but it was basically their Stanley Cup final because they came out the next series, and you could see how excited they were to beat their crosstown rival. And I'm hearing the same sort of stuff out of Miami, which gives me pause, that getting over the hurdle after not beating Boston last year and being able to beat them this year, and just the accomplishment of getting to the NBA Finals. And it is a great accomplishment that this Miami team, as the 8th seed, as part of the play-in tournament, as a team that lost the first game of the play-in tournament and had to win a winner-take-all sort of, second game of the play-in tournament to get in. With all of that, it feels like, to me, this team has exhaled. And this is the wrong time to exhale. And the wrong opponent to exhale against. And I'm kind of afraid that what's going to happen here is Denver's going to win in like 5. And everybody's going to sort of gloss it over as, yeah, they won an NBA championship, but they beat the 8th seed in the East. How good of a championship was it? Really? I could already feel that argument developing in some NBA Weisenheimer's mind. That's sort of where we are. So I'm anxious to see how the series plays out. I hope I'm wrong. I'll give you an official prediction on the show tomorrow night. Matter of fact, we got a special treat for you tomorrow night. Charles won't be here for it because in the game of Wheel of Producer, he doesn't get picked for tomorrow's show. But Nick Ferguson, back to the outhouse. Nick Ferguson, friend of the program in Denver, is going to co-host the second hour of the Cash In with me tomorrow night. I'm gonna ride with a co-host for a change, something I rarely ever do. But Nick's going to hang out with us for an hour tomorrow night on the show. He is in Denver, so we get a little bit of that Denver flavor with this NBA final starting on Thursday night with Nick Ferguson tomorrow night in the second hour of the show. Then and only then will I give a prediction on this series. Looking forward to that. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Daryl Guru Johnson will be in the next segment. He is from 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. I want to talk to him about Bob Myers leaving the Warriors. And I have a real simple reason as to why I think Bob Myers is leaving. It might be so simplistic that it's just, it can't possibly be true. But I'll float it with Daryl Guru Johnson coming up. I'll try to get in a question with him as well about the San Francisco Giants because I think they're sort of on the come right now in that NL West. I know it's the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks have been a big surprise, but I still say watch out for the Giants as a potential wild card team in the National League. Playing a lot better since they brought up a couple of their kids from the farm. So we'll get to that coming up with him as well. So stick around. Daryl Guru Johnson, 95.7 The Game in San Francisco on the Bob Myers parting of ways with the Golden State Warriors. That's next as we continue. It's the Cash In. I'm Jason Page. This is SportsMap Radio. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum. It's 2 for 1 time on the show. Let's talk a little bit about one of the big stories of the. It's 2 for 1 time on the show. Yankees already up 3-0 tonight. Oh, wow, that was a missile. Oh, foul ball. Just a long, hard strike. By the way, Houston's playing a little bit better right now. This would be sort of the end of the line for him. So what was the reaction both for you and the audience and the fan base in San Francisco with Myers deciding to depart?
I love you, JP. Thanks for the invite. But I'll tell you this, a lot of people are having fun to call us.
I just can't believe how good the Rangers continue to be.
Let me borrow his seat a few times, courtside seat. And they're like, oh, Guru's.
It's 2 for 1 time on the show. Let's talk. Base hit IKF. I can't wait to go see this ballpark in Seattle. I'm dying to get up there. No, Seattle's been there a while. It's just I've never gone. T-Mobile Park has been there for a while. No, it's just such a gorgeous ballpark. And of course, I'm going up there in late June. I'm going up there June 23rd for a few days. And of course, every time I've traveled this year, the city that I go to go see, like, hopefully, and not that I'm going there to see games, but every time I've gone somewhere this year, the place I've been going to, the home team goes away. Like, out of town, playing on the road. Every single, it's amazing how many times it's happened this year. Thing is, I live stone's throw. I live, about 2 hours from LA, 2 hours to San Diego. There's no excuse for me not going to a game. I hate driving to LA. Going to see the Dodgers and the Angels those teams just don't ever excite me. I'm not a big fan of going to watch NFL games live. The NFL in person does not excite me. Yeah, I think I've been to 3 NFL games in my entire life. Yeah, truth. I've been to the same amount of NBA games. Well, maybe 5. I've been to about 5 NBA games. Baseball, I've been to a zillion games. I mean, I've been to a zillion of those. Yeah, baseball is the sport that I'm connected to, without question. Because baseball was the sport I grew up on. I played it the most. I was a bat boy for a AA team. Yeah, it's the sport that when I was growing up, if I said I was going to play any sport professionally, it would have been baseball. And then reality set in, and I couldn't throw harder than 70. And that was the end of that dream. It's 2 for 1 time on the show. Let's talk a little bit about one of the big stories of the day with my man Daryl Guru Johnson. Catch him on 95.7 The Game, weekday mornings 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. Get some thoughts with him. Get some thoughts with him on this big story involving Bob Myers, which, let's be honest, Goo, it's not a huge surprise that Bob Myers stepped down. There had been some talk throughout the season that this would be sort of the end of the line for him. So what was the reaction both for you and the audience and the fan base in San Francisco with Myers deciding to depart?
I love you, JP. Thanks for the invite, but I'll tell you this. A lot of people are having fun to call us the listeners. Because Bob has let me borrow his seat a few times, courtside seat. And they're like, oh, Guru, the only reason you're mad is you don't get the seat, please. But I got to tell you, Jason, I didn't see it coming. And I tweeted it last night. I should have. All the tea leaves said, you know what? All good things must come to an end. But the fact that Draymond Green talks about what Bob Myers said to him, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, I kind of thought they were going to run it back. And Jason, I got 3 children. They're older now in college, but I know what it's like to have 3 young kids, and Bob has 3 young daughters. And if you want to say and share with the world that you haven't been around and you want to spend more time with them, who can question that? But let me tell you this today, what was odd at the presser. His owner, his boss, Joe Lacob, said to the world, to hear, that he didn't agree with this decision, and he just found out about it today. So I love Joe Lacob, but I got to tell you, Jason, I'm wondering, and I would never say Bob's lying, and the kid thing is not real, but I just wonder how much taxation comes with working for a guy like Joe Lacob. And if you listen word for word to that presser, it wasn't strange, but there were a lot of little weird tea leaves about almost their dynamic and what it's like to work for, and I can't answer this, Joe Lacob, but I think Bob Myers told us by stepping down, if that makes any sense.
Have you heard? I mean, look, you're in the belly of the beast there in San Francisco. You're practically down the street from the arena. I mean, have you heard of people saying that Joe Lacob is tough to work for? Have there been anecdotes from, whether it be players, Steve Kerr? Has there been those sort of tea leaves that you're hearing and what you thought you might have heard from Bob Myers today?
You know what? That's a great question, but outside of Joey Lightyear, the nickname that he gave himself, no. So I'm going to give Joe Lacob credit in that regard, but you just talk about Draymond Green, and I don't know if you remember a game in the regular season towards the end of the Pelican game. Draymond was having what I deem a meltdown.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And Bob had to come out of his seat to tame him, basically. But that was part of their relationship and their dynamic. But, again, I haven't heard anything about Joe Lacob and how strenuous it is mentally to work for Joe Lacob for Bob Myers. But today just seemed rather odd, and the fact that he didn't write it out, Bob, with the big 3 of Steph, Dre, and Clay. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, Jason, I would love for nothing more than to leave something to my kids, like a legacy. So you talk about Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and, you know, on the bad days, because there's been some good ones. But Kirk Lacob, assistant to basketball operations VP for the Golden State Warriors. I was sitting here thinking this was a power play by Joe Lacob, who wanted to go cheap and not offer Bob top dollar to be the top GM. He's got 4 titles. What are we doing? But to come to find out today, what was revealed is Bob had a lucrative offer to become the highest GM in the NBA. So that leads me to be, to the point where it wasn't about money. Joe did his part. It was bigger than that, and that's what has me thinking now. Joe Lacob today, again, I keep saying it, he said, I don't understand it. You know, and Joe comes from a venture capitalist background, and when he left his job, he said it was successful. A lot of people were asking, why would you leave this? He said he felt like Bob Myers was doing it, but it didn't fit well with him, Jason. So I say all that to say is I thought this was a play to make his son be the next GM of the Warriors. and now it doesn't look like it. And Joe Lacob, to be honest, was irritated a bit today.
Daryl Guru Johnson hosts 95.7 The Game. Catch him weekdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern over there with my man Mark Steinmetz. Can I get a thought from you on this? And maybe I'm being simplistic. But maybe Bob Myers looks, and is it more of an indictment on the direction he thinks this group and this roster is headed? I mean, look, if this team had won a championship or gone to an NBA final or even a Western Conference final, he could talk about family all he wants. But at the end of the day, I can't help but wonder if he looks and says, all right, the best days of this thing are behind us. Get out as close to the top as you can, 1 year removed from an NBA championship. He can do anything he wants for his next move. He could take time off. He could go be a president of a university. I mean, there's going to be so many opportunities for this guy. Did he figure out get out as close to a high note as you can?
Jason, I'm going on Woody Harrelson on True Detective, the best series of that whole show, the first season. But you're right. But let me just mention 3 other names to where you were going. James Wiseman is no longer a Warrior. That was a blessing from the basketball gods. The number 2 pick that you got, listen to me now, you guys with an S messed up. Jonathan Kuminga all of a sudden didn't play in the playoffs. Moses Moody, okay. I've been advocating why wasn't he playing during the regular season, but trust him in the playoffs. My point is, I need to find out where those Bob picks and Steve said, this is not the direction I want to go and count on young people. And how much did Joe Lacob, how much was he involved? And let me tell you something. I don't have those answers, but he was involved. And to what degree, to me, is what might have deteriorated this relationship. It's 3 people. I go buy the groceries, that's the GM. I get the okay by the owner. And if Steve Kerr was somehow stubborn, and I love the guy, or said, you know what, this is not my style, counting on young guys, why weren't they ready, and why is Wiseman in Detroit? That might fall at the doorstep of Bob Myers. And maybe, Jason, that's soured the relationship somehow. Only those 3 know.
Is Mike Dunleavy Jr. the right person for the job?
We just talked to him a few weeks ago, and I asked him point blank range, is this something you wanted to do to be a general manager? And Jason, he looked me in the face and said, out of nowhere. I've also thought about coaching, and I'm not mad at that. But when I got that answer, it didn't digest and process with me that he's losing sleep at night to be a GM. I mean, if you're talking about coaching / GM, you ain't got your mind made up. So to me, you asked me, Kay, and I'll share with you, I think his son, Kirk Lacob, is going to be the next general manager of the Golden State Warriors.
Before I let you go, a couple of quickies on baseball. Giants playing a little better since Casey Schmidt and Patrick Bailey got called up. I have loved Schmidt. I advocated for this kid getting called up. He is hitting the cover off the ball. He has definitely provided a spark to the team, as has Bailey. How do you feel about the Giants right now in that competitive NL West, where the Diamondbacks have surprised, obviously, with the Dodgers, who you knew were going to be good?
It's funny, I'm walking down Market Street on my way to see the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates. I know you don't like that, against the Giants. But Casey Schmidt has been all that and some. And let me tell you something, Jay. After the 107 win season 2 years ago, I didn't know what the Giants had. Last year they kind of told us. But Schmidt and Bailey have just provided some youth. It looks different even when they lose. And I know it's not just all those 2, but I got my eraser out, and I got to give Farhan some credit. Conforto, you got Hanover back. They're starting to pick, guys that's not named Logan Webb. So I'm looking at this Giant team like, they not a strategy, but they got like a formula of Giant baseball, and I know they're only 2 up. But if they were 9 back, early in the season, so Jay, just making one story short, I think the Giants got some action, and Casey Schmidt and Bailey are a big part of that.
I got 45 seconds. How sickened are you by what's going on in Oakland and the East Bay?
I got a tuxedo in my closet, a black suit tuxedo, and it's for the funeral for the city of Oakland. Not only have they lost the Warriors, and you can feel they're in the Bay, they're not in Oakland. The Raiders are gone, and now the A's basically are gone. And if you look at the attendance like I did the other night, Jay, it wasn't but 2,500 people in the ballpark. It's sad. I think of Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson and Ricky Henderson and LaRussa. I ain't seeing him, but I'll go political on here. Something's got to be done with the mayor. And the fact that Oakland's going to be a ghost town when it comes to sports is just sad.
Daryl Guru Johnson, catch him weekday mornings, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy the baseball tonight. Good to talk to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Love Guru. So it just breaks your heart, though. What's going on with this? What's going on with this A's team really does break your heart. All right, we'll stick with a little baseball here. Anthony Bass, reliever for the Blue Jays, in the news for all the wrong reasons. Anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric. He had to come out and apologize for it today. Mike Wilner, the Toronto Star, their longtime baseball columnist, joins us on the other side to talk about it. Next on the Cash In. Thanks. It's 2-for-1 time on the show. Let's talk a little bit about one of the big stories on this Tuesday edition of the show. I always hate having to talk about these stories because they obviously hit close to home for me. For anybody who listens to the show, you obviously know. What the hell? Thank you. Oh, you stupid idiot, Jason. God damn it. Shit. Another home run? Oh my God, the Yankees are just blasting away. Wow. 7-0 in the fourth. Wow. Wow. Rolling along on this Tuesday edition of the show. I always hate having to talk about these stories because they obviously hit close to home for me. For anybody who listens to the show, you obviously know my own story and who I am. But every now and again, we get these stories in sports radio, sports media, involving these athletes that undoubtedly say or do something that is of a LGBTQ plus rhetoric relating to boycotting Target and the like. I wanted to bring in Mike Wilner to talk about it. Does a great job. Baseball columnist with the Toronto Star. He's been on our show before. Host of the Deep Left Field podcast as well, to get his thoughts on it. We heard from Anthony Bass earlier today, Mike, with his apology after those postings that he has since. Rolling along on this Tuesday, pitcher for the Blue Jays. Rejoin you can give me. The LGBTQ plus rhetoric relating to boycotting Target and the like. I wanted to bring the LGBTQ plus rhetoric relating to boycotting Target and the like. Yeah, quickest rejoin possible. All right, let's get into the Anthony Bass controversy. I wanted to bring in Mike Wilner to talk about it. Does a great job. Baseball columnist with the Toronto Star. He's been on our show before. Host of the Deep Left Field podcast as well, to get his thoughts on it. We heard from Anthony Bass earlier today, Mike, with his apology after those postings that he has since deleted. First, I want to get your thoughts on the apology itself, and did it feel forced to you?
Well, yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, because it was. People don't have revelations over the course of 24 hours that something they did was all of a sudden wrong because people, I think, that they tend to disagree with on social media tell them that it's wrong. So, yes, I think Anthony Bass would have preferred to just hide and not say anything and have the whole thing blow over, but that's not what was going to happen. So, yeah, I think he believed that it was in his best interest to apologize, and he did. He didn't read a statement, but I'm equally confident that he didn't write what he said, and he didn't take questions after we were told ahead of time that he wasn't going to take questions, which sort of, removes much of the sincerity of an apology if you're not willing to talk about, why you think what you did was wrong or what it is, why you think that it's something you need to apologize for.
Mike, is this a sustainable situation for the organization? Is Bass remaining on the roster? Can team president Mark Shapiro basically just kind of let this blow over? Or, more about that city of Toronto than anybody, and it's a very diverse city. It obviously has a vibrant LGBTQ plus community. Will fan reaction dictate what happens next? The community, sponsors? Are they just taking a wait-and-see approach? And is that the right approach from the organization?
That's a lot to unpack right there. First of all, I'm standing here, just outside the third base coaching box, staring at a huge Budweiser sign that's in left center field. And that was one of the companies that Bass, whatever he posted, called upon people to boycott. So that's a very interesting thing to deal with right there, just as far as that goes. But yeah, look, Toronto is an incredibly diverse city. Canada is a very, very different country than the United States as far as attitudes. And, we've got the Christo-fascism creeping in here with what just happened in Alberta yesterday. But we're hoping to keep it at bay. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the organization does. I mean, do you give him a chance to make good on his apology? He said he was going to put the Blue Jays' resources to use and educate himself. Do you give him a chance to do that? Or do you just let him go? I mean, I don't think it's something that will blow over. I don't think it's something that's going to go away. Cynically, I think it might depend on how he pitches, and if he's pitching well and helping them win, he'll get a far longer leash than if he's not. And right now, he is pitching really, really well. Although the season numbers don't show that. I think he's given up one run in his last 9 appearances, just one hit. So he's going to get booed mercilessly here every time he comes into a game. Every time his name is mentioned. Will that be too much? Will the distraction be too much? And the Blue Jays just want to cut bait? Maybe, but I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens over the course of the next little while. But Pride Month starts on Thursday, so it's Pride weekend here next weekend when the Jays get back after their little road trip to New York on this weekend. So it's going to be front and center.
Mike, this team's lost 7 of 10. Sort of superimpose this story to that backdrop. If they had won 7 of 10 and they're in second place, does it get treated differently than it does with this team being in dead last, albeit a couple of games over 500? Obviously, it's been a disappointing start to the season. A third of the year through, third of the way through the season. How much does all of that sort of play into this? Another distraction, or I shouldn't say another, but a distraction for a team that right now can't really afford that.
Yeah, I think in pro sports, sometimes you have to think that way, but I don't think the reaction is any different. If the Blue Jays, 28-26, whether they're last place in the AL East with this record or in first place in the AL Central with the same record, or whether they're, 48-6. I think the reaction is the same. I think the fans are equally as upset. And I don't think anything happens differently.
Talking with Mike Wilner, columnist at the Toronto Star, host of the Deep Left Field podcast as well, who joins us on the show. Before I let you go, a thought on this Blue Jays team that has struggled, but again, at 28-26, if you match them up against the rest of the American League, it doesn't look as bad. Obviously, they have a lot of teams to leapfrog when it comes to a wild card spot. We're only a third of the way through the season. Take the Anthony Bass story for a moment and put it aside and just give me a thought on where this Blue Jays team is in terms of the standings and sort of what needs to happen for them to sort of get beyond this sort of mediocre level of baseball they're playing so far.
Well, they're playing terrible baseball right now. I mean, you said that they've lost 7 of their last 10, but this is a team that was 18-9 at one point this season, and now they're 28-26. So they've lost 17 of their last 26. The last homestand, they swept the Braves and then lost 6-7 to the Yankees and Orioles. So it's rough. They've lost 10 out of their last 14 games. So what they need to do is start being smarter, start making better decisions on the bases, start taking care of the baseball better, and start getting hits with runners in scoring position. And getting out of the AL East is going to help a little bit, right? They were in the teeth of the beast for a while, and when you're doing that and you're not playing well, things are going to go really, really, really badly for you. And they went 2-9 against the Yankees, Orioles, and Tampa Bay Rays all in a row. They're much better than this, and they just basically have to start playing to their capabilities, the way they were playing before these last 2 weeks. Because it really has just been 2 weeks ago they had the 4th best record in the American League, and now they're 4 games out of the final wildcard spot.
It's wild. And look, I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, even though I live on the West Coast in the U.S., and watching, sort of the ups and downs of their season as well. I mean, a lot of teams are obviously going through it and looking at what Baltimore and the Rays are doing atop the division. There's certainly no let up from either of those two teams. Mike Wilner, always appreciate it, columnist, Toronto Star, giving us some time on the show. Check out his podcast, the Deep Left Field podcast. And I also want to finish with this. And I hope you don't mind me saying it because I know you mentioned it on Twitter. You made a donation to It Gets Better Canada for $52. That's the uniform number of Anthony Bass. And as a man that self-identifies as openly gay and one that has spent more than half my life talking about sports, I appreciate that action from you. So I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate the thank you. I didn't do it for the thank you. I did it because it's a way to show support, and I put his name on the donation too, in honor of Anthony Bass, with honor and quotes. But these are the little things that you can do to help, and it's not, it's not enough to just say the right thing. Action needs to be taken, and support needs to be given, and I try to do it whenever I can. And just in case it came out the wrong way when I said the fans are upset with Anthony Bass. They should be, and they have every right to be, and I'm upset with them, and everybody around here is upset with them. And, it's not about politics, and it's not about free speech, and it's not about everybody having the right to their opinion. It's about, try not to hurt people. And there's a saying, right, that you should always... trying to remember it specifically, but you should always try to be kind whenever that time comes about, and it's always that time. So, the apology was perfectly worded, but he didn't write it, and time will tell whether it was sincere or not. But it was absolutely forced, and we'll see. We'll see. But it's a rough time in this world right now.
Mike, thank you. Means a lot. I appreciate it. Be well.
All right, thank you.
Mike Wilner on the show, giving us some thoughts on the Anthony Bass controversy in Toronto. I've got something I want to say about this, and I'm going to take a point of personal privilege and do it on the other side of the top of the hour. Stay with us. More Cash In on this Tuesday at SportsMap Radio. Gunnar Henderson starting to heat up. Don't think I agree with that. I think you just water it down. I can make an entire show out of disagreeing with the promos I hear during this show. Like, literally. Like, this is an easy one. Yeah, they got handled. Great. They were without Chris Paul, and they were playing against the best team in the West. Oh, yeah, they fucking got handled. How is that on Kevin Durant? Just stop. It's just, it's blather. It's just useless blather. Imbecilic prattle. Christ. "28 years old. God, I've been in radio as long as he's fucking been alive. That makes me feel old. Of course. I was just saying why. If you were listening, I was just saying. They were playing against the best team in the West, and they were without Chris Paul. But somehow it's Kevin Durant's fault. Like, that's just fucking idiotic. It's just... It's okay. We got to blame somebody. No, you know what? This is one time where an injury was absolutely crippling for that team. It's Chris Paul every time. Yeah. Hey, what? Wow. At least you admitted it. Most people would have just played it off. Another hour of the show starts right now on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. All right, big announcement coming up in 15 minutes. We'll get to that in 15. And we are wide open on the phones this hour. No guests in this hour. I have left it wide open, which means if you've got a thought, 1-800-224-2004 is the phone number from anywhere in America. 800-224-2004. If you want to text the show, 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549 from anywhere in the world. Shoot us a text message, and we will read it here on the air. So that is there for you. All right. I always get a little nervous when I have to have these conversations about a story like Anthony Bass, which we were just talking about with Mike Wilner. And I didn't want to interject too much of my personal opinions into that interview because it's about the guest. It's not about me. And sometimes I always find myself being guilty of talking too much during an interview. And sometimes my husband will give me grief. He's like, my God, that was the longest question ever. Are you giving a speech or doing an interview? And if it's one of the things that if I have a weakness as a host, sometimes I get too conversational with a guest and just forget that there's an audience there. And you don't want to hear me. If I'm interviewing a guest, you want to hear from the guest. Otherwise, why have the guest on? And so I tried to do my best with that with Mike Wilner and just kind of give the flavor of what was going on in Toronto as it related to this Anthony Bass story. But I got to say this. We are literally on the eve of Gay Pride Month, which is the month of June. And while I have never shied away from talking about my husband or the fact that I'm openly gay, I've never been much for for advocating. And there's a long story as to why I have stayed away from being the gay sports radio host, as opposed to being a sports radio host who just happens to be gay. That was the route I took. There are some people that I call them professional gays. And I know this is going to sound derogatory towards you absolutely can laugh at that. Yeah, absolutely. Charles Carter, producer, engineer, working on the show tonight. There are professional gays. There are people who strictly make a living off of the fact of something that they can't change, that is just part of who they are. It'd be like, I mean, I view being gay as much as I view having big feet or a balding head. It's just inherently part of who I am. It's not anything I got to work to do. So I've never believed in making a living off it. I've had plenty of opportunities in my career to be the gay sports guy. I have turned it down every which way and probably lost out on a buttload of money as a result. Because forever and a day, I spent 1 year working in the gay media. 1 year of my life. Never again. It's just not who I am. It's not for me. And if it's for other people, that's great, but it's not for me. I've never shied away about talking about who I am. I've never switched pronouns since I came out professionally in 2011. I've never switched a pronoun or any of that stuff. This is who I am. Fine. But this Anthony Bass story and others like it that we've seen over the last few years in sports make my, don't use the F word, make my effing blood boil. Because I shouldn't have to apologize for who I am. There is nothing wrong with who I am. There's nothing sick. I'm not evil. I'm not trying to turn your son or your cousin or your husband. I don't get a free microwave if I make them gay. That's not the way it works. I'm just simply me. And for people to be out there hiding behind, in some cases, religion, in some cases, their upbringing, whatever it may be, as a means for coming after people like me, or trying to diminish people like me, or make it difficult to live in the world for people like me, stop. To the Anthony Basses of the world, do you know how many gay teens out there are in the closet? Do you know how many teens are out there that commit suicide because they can't be who they authentically are or who they truly are? They cannot be their authentic self. They can't. Because some ogre like Anthony Bass is waiting around the corner trying their best to make them feel uncomfortable about who they are. It has to stop. And sports needs to be a part of stomping out that ignorance. And Pride Month and the Pride Nights that a lot of these teams do, I haven't even talked about the whole Dodgers debacle, which I just don't want to. Because I don't want to make this a show about those sorts of things. But I feel like I have a responsibility as somebody who is openly gay. And one of the very few, in fact, I think I might be the only one who does a nationally syndicated show on a Monday through Friday basis that is openly gay. I never really think about it much, but I guess I am. I have a responsibility to come on this show. And I know we're in some places where being gay is frowned upon and not treated the right way. In some parts of the country where there just may not be a lot of openly gay people. And hopefully, and I've received some texts throughout the time that I've done this show at 888-670-8549 from people who have said, wow, you've really kind of changed my mindset on, what it is to be a gay man. And if I've done that for even one person, great. But even more so, if I've done it for a person who's in the closet, who's afraid of speaking out about who they are, out of fear of persecution, out of fear of falling out of favor with their family and their friends, if just for one moment, for 3 hours a night, for the 30 minutes you listen to the show, the 10, the 15 minutes, the podcast, watch the show, whatever, if just for a moment I can make you feel comfortable with who you are, that there's other sports gays. I hear that term all the time. It drives me nuts. Sports gay. You're a sports gay? Stupid. If just for a moment, speaking out on these things and being my most authentic self can help somebody. I don't care if 10 people turn off the radio, or if 99 people turn off the radio, or if 90 people out of 100 turn off the radio. There's probably 10 of you out there. This is what it's the percentage is about. They think they say 10% of the population is gay, something like that. I think the numbers are rising now with all the different colors of the rainbow and all that stuff, which is just, it's another thing altogether. Well, if we just say 10. If 10 out of the 100, whether they're in the closet, whether they're out, whatever it may be, if just for a moment I make them feel more comfortable, then if the other 90 turn it out and tune it out or turn it off and say, I don't want to hear about that stuff on my radio, okay. It's fine. I own the airtime. I don't have a problem with it. But I hear this Anthony Bass story. It makes me so angry. I'll tell one last story. Summer of 2000. Long way from being out of the closet. But a few very select people in my life knew that I was gay. And I was really struggling with it. I was the public address announcer for a AA minor league baseball team in New Haven, Connecticut. It was the AA New Haven Ravens. I was their I did that. I also did a few games on the road for them on radio with the great Bill Schweitzer. But I was their public address announcer for all their home games. And somebody in the front office of the organization knew I was gay. But that was literally it. Other than my family, nobody else knew. And I go into a locker room one day. And I go into the locker room, just a typical afternoon, because I would help the guys. Hey, what walk-up music do you want? Stuff like that. Walked into the locker room one day before, might have been after batting practice. I walk into the locker room, and I hear out of the back of the locker room, somebody yells out of the back of the locker room, "Fag in the locker room!" I turned bright red. I mean, it took everything not to just break down. I walked out, and I said, I'm done in sports. I'm never going to be. You got to remember, 23 years ago, the whole world was a different world. The idea of being an openly gay sportscaster, that was, I mean, if you were a female, it's one thing. If you're a male, forget it. You had no chance. And I walked out of that locker room, and I decided I was going to get out of sportscasting after that. I took a couple of years, and I did. I got out of sports. And I'm glad I came back to it a few years later. But for some people, that's all it would take. That one little push could send somebody over the edge. And somebody so callously screamed that out from the back of the locker room. Don't know who it was to this day. Mike Wilner said he donated to It Gets Better. I am here to tell you from experience as a 45-year-old gay male, it does get better. We're back with more of the cash-in. Stay with us. Amen. Amen. Hey, Google, turn the thermostat to 74 degrees, please.
Sure. Setting the Nest thermostat to 74 degrees.
Once a year, I will generally say something related to something like that. And I won't usually do it more than that because of exactly what I said at the top of the segment. That I don't believe in trying to make a living just for being gay. At the same time, I have a responsibility. So, there you go. What happened? It's nothing better than watching a baseball game and watching an umpire argue with a hitter about the pitch clock or the batter's clock, or depending on which end of it you're on. It's just nothing. Great idea, baseball. Let's create a clock. Let's make baseball a timed sport like everything it wasn't for its entire history of the game. Yes. Because I need my games in 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's crazy. I feel like if I miss 30 minutes of a baseball game, I've missed half the game now. I know that's not the case, but that's what it feels like. And I know I talk about this ad nauseum because it bothers me. There, I got it off my chest. I feel better now. If you guys want to text the show, we have a text line, 888-670-8549, 888-670-8549. If you want to call in, 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Big announcement. Tonight, I have a big announcement. Tomorrow, I have a big announcement. Tonight's announcement is about television and video in general. I've kind of teased this and hinted at it. And if you watch the video feed of the show, you'll see we've created this new backdrop for the show that I do it for. The reason we created it was partly for radio, but the other reason was television. The company I own, Decibel 88, which produces this show and has it distributed by SportsMap Radio and Gow Media and the great folks in Houston that help us do that. Thank you to you. This was just phase one of what my company was going to do, was audio and a video and sort of a radio-video simulcast. The next thing on the docket is a thing I call the Sports Wrap. We have a new TV show that's going to launch. It's not going to be on many stations at the start, but the only way you can get it onto stations is to start it. I think we got a station in Ohio that's going to be carrying it. It'll be available online to start. The name of the show is called The Sports Wrap. It'll be available beginning every Friday. And it's a 30-minute show. It's going to cover the top stories in sports with guests. Some of them might be familiar to you from the show we do on here. The name of the show is called The Sports Wrap, and we look forward to telling you more about it in the days ahead. As we continue to add affiliates, we will continue to post where you can listen, or I should say, where you can see the show. There will probably be a podcast version of the show that's available as well every week as well. But I just wanted to let you all know something cool that we're doing called the Sports Wrap. TV is obviously very important to what we're doing with this company, and I'm very excited that we're going to be able to share something different with you. And there's more TV projects coming down the pike that I cannot yet talk about, but that are in development from my company. And some of them are really cool. Even cooler than the Sports Wrap. So Charles Carter, who produces and engineers this show, will not be on the Sports Wrap, though, unfortunately. Sorry, Charles. I know. Oh, you say Dave in Connecticut's on the phone? All right, let's go. Dave in Connecticut listening to us on SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, or watching online on one of our video platforms that we're on. Dave, what's going on, my man? How was your weekend? Thank you. I appreciate that. It's not something, I made a joke during the break. Not even a joke. I was telling Charles, our producer, off the air during the break. I might do something like that once a year on this show, because I just don't want this show to ever become about my sexual orientation. I don't want people that listen to the show who tell a friend about the show, or who, talk with other people about the show or anything like that. I don't want them listening to the show thinking it's, wow, this gay guy that talks about sports. I don't. Or they tell a friend, oh, I was listening to this gay guy that hosts a sports radio show. I just don't want that. So it's very rare that I will share those kind of stories. It's not that I ever hide from the fact that I'm gay, but I just don't feel the need to use it in such a way. I talk about watching a game with my husband the same way that anybody would talk about watching a game with their wife or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or whatever it would be. I just talk about it the same way because that's what it is to me. Yeah. No, but you'd be amazed. You would be amazed at how many places I've worked in the last 20 years where if I talked about anything like this, I had to look over my shoulder and wonder about. I mean, look, I'll be flat out and say it. I worked for a very prominent company. I won't say the name right now because I've burned and incinerated enough bridges in this industry. But I've worked for a couple of very prominent prominent companies in this industry that, frankly, I was made to feel very uncomfortable just for being who I am. And nobody should have to go through that. And I know there's people that go through it in their everyday lives, in their everyday jobs, whether it's, working in a grocery store or working in a factory. There's people that go through this every day. And I want you to know, I've gone through it too. I'm not immune to it just because I'm some guy hosting a radio show or some guy hosting a TV show as I've done over the years. I've gone through it too. Yeah, go ahead. Really? Wow. Mm. Yeah. No, I get it. I get what you're saying. Oh, it's acceptable. Yeah, it's acceptable. Well, I get it. Congratulations, by the way, on your parlay, Dave. I appreciate the call as always. We're up against it here. But I thought of you last night. All right, we got to go. We're coming back on the other side. When I saw the score of that Heat game last night, though, against the Celtics, the first person I thought of was Dave in the under. We're coming back. Thanks. I just want to add one more thing that I think it's the simplest thing to say, but it's the hardest thing to do. And then I promise I'll get off all this stuff that they're talking about. It's kind of heavy stuff. I apologize. I know it's a little bit heavy for sports talk. If the world would be such a better place to live in and such a much more comfortable place for everybody to live in, if people could simply take a moment and try to understand life from the perspective of whoever it is they're talking to, denigrating, it would just make life so much easier for so many people to just stop and put yourself in the shoes of somebody else. And by the way, I can't say that I do this 100% of my life. I don't think anybody is capable because we all have moments where we become judgmental, right? But try to, in the moment, ask yourself, simple question, what's it like to be that other person? And I'm not just talking about the gay thing. I'm talking the gay thing. I'm talking about somebody being black, somebody being Asian, somebody being Hispanic, somebody being trans, a woman, a minority of any kind, an immigrant. Try to take a second and put yourself in that person's shoes. I've been fortunate enough to be exposed to a zillion different things. I've been exposed to so many different things. I've lived in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota. I've lived in the biggest city in the world, one of the biggest cities in the world, New York. I've traveled, I've driven cross country 5 times and stopped in various places to sort of soak in culture and parts of the country I would never probably live in, but just stop and walk around and see the townspeople and that sort of thing. And not everybody can do that, so I'm not saying you need to do that. But just try to understand life from the perspective of somebody else before you go all in on trashing that person. I like I said, I could do the same thing. I could say there are times that I probably have to do the same thing and do it better, but I try my best to do that. The world would be such a better place if we could just figure out a way to do that. So many stories today on the in the sports media. There's so many different items there that are just there's so many, like, if you just go and look at the headlines on ESPN. Kershaw disagrees with decision to honor the sisters of the whatever, that group that kind of mocks religion sometimes, but does a lot for the LGBTQ community, part of the Dodgers Pride Night. Bass apologizes for sharing anti-LGBTQIA plus post. Diamond skips payment to Padres, loses the TV rights. I mean, 3 or 4 stories on the headlines have nothing to do with actual games on the field. And I think there's a lot of that these days. I mean, there used to be a time in sports where it was just about the games, just about that stuff. And now there's so much insider access and there's so much insider stuff that goes on, and we know so much more than we used to before, that it's impossible to ignore some of these other things that go on. I haven't talked about again, knowing what you know about me, you would have thought I would have talked ad nauseum about the Dodgers Pride Night story. I have not spoken once about it on this show because I just don't want to go there. But when the stories start to add up and you have hockey players that won't wear the Pride Night stuff and they cite their religion as the reason why, which I think is laughable because I was raised Catholic. And the God I grew up knowing about was a loving God. He loved everybody. He wasn't going to shun you for wearing a rainbow, sleeve on your arm for warm-ups for an NHL game. It's just amazing how simple-minded some people can be when it comes to this stuff. It really is. John Gruden should not be in any NFL front office. He should not be in any NFL locker room. How's that? Chucky. I see this thing with Dennis Allen, the Saints head coach, explaining why the team brought in John Gruden for off-season training. And the decision, according to Dennis Allen, was about Derek Carr, trying to help him transition to a new team after he spent his whole career with the Raiders. And if you don't know the story of John Gruden, just go read up John Gruden emails, and you'll understand why I think it is absolutely the wrong decision for the Saints organization to take a guy like John Gruden and put him as a consultant, to put him on your team. This is a guy who resigned from the Raiders in 2021 after leaked emails revealed he used racist, sexist, and homophobic language. He hit the trifecta, baby. How about that? And then he used slurs to describe the NFL Players Association Executive Director DeMaurice Smith. D. Smith. Did I ever tell you my D. Smith story, Charles Carter? DeMaurice Smith, if you ever meet DeMaurice Smith, he'll walk up to you and go, D. Smith. That's how he introduces himself. So I saw him at like a Super Bowl radio row once. He comes, no, not really. He just didn't do anything for me. I'll never forget the fact that he walks in and he goes, D. Smith. Nice guy. He just I don't have any sort of relationship with him. He's just another person I've met along the way in a zillion years of this business. I gotta ask Nick Ferguson about it tomorrow, because I think he was kind of big in the Players Association and runs in those circles. I'll have him validate the D. Smith thing tomorrow. He's gonna DeMaurice Smith, Nick Ferguson, the former NFL safety, who's in Denver, is going to co-host the second hour of the Cash In with me tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to that. But how do you as an organization justify knowing everything you know about John Gruden? How do you justify as an organization saying, yeah, you know what, we're going to bring that guy in? It's just, you look at some of the decision making in some of these organizations, and in an instance like this, and you just know something's wrong, something's not right, something's off. That somebody above Dennis Allen within that organization up the chain said, yeah, you know what, let's bring in that guy who basically showed you who he was in those emails. I mean, in 2011, let's see if I can find the exact way he referred to, see if I can find it, the exact way he referred to DeMaurice Smith. I mean, it was something really egregious. You know what? Having looked at it now, I'm not even going to say, because it would just be, it would be irresponsible. But go and look up what John Gruden said about DeMaurice Smith. We'll just leave it at that. And you quickly understand this guy shouldn't have been any part of what that organization is doing in New Orleans. There's a million people that have worked with Derek Carr throughout his career. God knows the Raiders have had more than enough coaches over the years that they could have brought in to try and lend a hand. And I still don't understand for the life of me why, if you're Dennis Allen, you'd want to even open up your organization to John Gruden when you know John Gruden would die to get back into the league as a head coach, he's doing everything he can to try and rehab his reputation. Why would you even let him in? Why would you let that guy in the door knowing that if you get off to a crappy start next year and you're Dennis Allen and the Saints in an NFC South that's winnable, you could find yourself out of a job. And you know who they're going to replace you with? Say it with me. John Gruden. If the organization's willing to let him be a consultant, why wouldn't they let him take your job, Dennis Allen? We're coming back. That's brisk, baby. Aaron Judge. Another home run for Aaron Judge, 18th of the year. Okay. Cool, love it. Aaron Judge is just a beast. It's just insane. I want to look at his month of May. Let's see. Thank you. Aaron Judge for the month of May. When I tell you his numbers for May, you're going to be like, holy shit. Any way you can be better? We don't have, there's only a minute left in the break, dude. I was such a dick. I'm a dick. It really is. It is with a minute left in the segment. It's not something I would try to explain in a segment. It wouldn't be anything scathing, though. Aaron Judge, wait until I give you these numbers. I'm going to just say this. And I know coming from me, it's, it comes off as Yankee bias and you're just saying that because you're a Yankee fan. Enough with the conversation right now in baseball is Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. But let's be honest about it. Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. He is. And there is not a debate to be had. There is no conversation to be had about it whatsoever. Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. Period. Full stop. He just hit, see if it's in here. He just hit his 12th home run in the month of May, which, by the way, for him only started on May 9th because he was out of the lineup with that injury he suffered. I can't remember if it was abdominal, hip. No, it was a hip injury. So he went out of the lineup on April 27th, returned on May 9th. So basically he missed 2 weeks, did Aaron Judge. And since coming off the injury list, 12 home runs, 25 runs batted in. He's hitting about 357 in the month of May in his last 20 days. It's great that Shohei Ohtani can pitch and hit. Aaron Judge is a Gold Glove right fielder. Last year was a center fielder. He could play any position in the outfield and play it well. And he's just insane he's got 12 home runs in May. He's just getting warmed up. And I think now for the season, he's at 18 home runs, 39 RBI. Guys a lot of times, and he's hitting 302 for the year, by the way. A lot of guys get into, get these massive contracts and then slip off, don't wind up being as good. And I can run through a laundry list of guys that got paid, got their bag, and then basically went into the bag. Judge ain't one of those guys. He's hitting 302, 17 and 38, and he missed 2 weeks. So now what? And it's no strange coincidence that the Yankees' have been one of the best teams in May. It's no strange coincidence their fortunes turned when Aaron Judge came back to the team. That is an MVP. If Shohei Ohtani is on the Angels, they're still a team. And if he's not on the team, they're still an team. It doesn't make a difference. So when we have this conversation every year about MVP and all these, Aaron Judge is the MVP right now through the first third of the season. And that's it. Got an argument to make? Go ahead. Knock yourself out. I'm here to listen. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. You can also text us at 888-670-8549. You Yankee Homer. 888-670-8549. A guy that usually texts the show is on the line. Sam from the Upper Peninsula typically will text the show. Tonight he's actually calling into the show. To what do I owe this honor, Sam? Hold on a second. You hit an 8-leg parlay? Wow. Oh, yeah. 27. Yeah. Yeah. And what did you do? Did you take advantage of it or what? Wow. 18-1. Let me tell you something. If I do like a 3-leg parlay, I feel like it's a lot. I have no luck playing parlays like that. So I give a lot of credit to people like yourself who are willing to put any money out there on those big time parlays like that. Was it like one of those FanDuel? Was it like one of those FanDuel things where they have them listed on the on their page, or did you just make your own? Okay. Sure. Sure, that makes sense. Okay. One hit and over on the total. I'm writing this down. So you got the Rays, you got Eflin on a win, and Diaz over one hit and over on the total. I like it. I'm writing it down. It's good stuff, Sam. Yeah, go ahead. Dude, that is very nice of you. That's and hearing that from you means the world. A lot of hosts will, and I appreciate the call, Sam. A lot of hosts will sort of take their. I think a lot of hosts take their audiences for granted, and you never know how many people are actually listening. I know people are listening. We're on, I think my show's on like 80 stations around the country, something like that. And then we're streaming, and there's the podcast, and the show's on video and available there. But when you hear somebody just kind of say they're getting what they want out of the show, it means the world. So I appreciate that, Sam. And I always appreciate your texts into our text line as well. Sam in the Upper Peninsula checking in. And he just gave it. I didn't even give any winners tonight on the show because I'm always a little hesitant to do baseball. But I do have some news tomorrow coming up about some stuff we're going to be doing on Twitter that if you are of the gambling type, it will definitely be of interest to you. That's all I'm going to say. Rays, he's got the Rays tomorrow. He's got Eflin on a win. He's got Yandy Diaz over one hit and over on the total for the Rays and Cubs tomorrow. There you go. Courtesy of Sam in the Upper Peninsula. If you lose, you send your complaints to him, not to me. If sports betting were legal in Texas, Charles Carter, would you do it? Would you dabble in it? I'm not saying like be a degenerate and go like all in all the time, but would you do it? Because I think the majority of sports bettors are betting like $25 or $50 or less on a game. Like they're casual. I think I could, yeah. I mean, you got college loans to pay probably. I get it, right? Something like that. Yeah. You'll be paying those until you're like 40. Yeah. Oh, you're hoping the whole Biden thing goes through and you don't have to pay those college loans. See, but I got to see something. See, here's the problem with that. If you're somebody that just like finished paying off your college loans and now you're hearing about Charles Carter, and I just gave your name too, in Houston, Texas, is going to get out of $20 in like financial loan, it's going to make you upset. I can understand that there are people on the other side of this issue that are like, dude, I mean, I'll give you a better example. I didn't go to college. I went to a semester at Southern Connecticut State University, and I'm going to be paying for your college loans to get paid off because my taxes are going up. It's all right. I'll do it for the cause for you, Charles. No, I'm so glad you just brought up something. You just brought up something about fairness, and it actually dovetails beautifully into something that I want to talk about coming up at the top of the hour. Nick Saban, stop your whining. I'll get to that coming up in just a moment. Top of the hour is here. I'm going to go watch Aaron Judge's last home run. And then we're going to come back for more of the Cash In. Final hour right around the corner on SportsMap Radio. Like, my nephew is just hoping it goes through because him and his wife both went to college at exactly the same time. 4 years, like, got their badge, and they're going to be paying for college forever. And they're just hoping this bill goes through because they're going to cash in big time. Yeah, I'm sure. It's a lot of money in your pocket that you don't have to pay for. How much do you pay for student loans every month between you and me? Oh, okay. So you still get to wait. You get to. Oh, Jesus. It's lucky that didn't go out. Hang 'em and bang 'em. Oh, really? My husband almost, when my husband got his master's, he was really close to going to get his doctorate, and he didn't do it. I'm glad he didn't, because we'd be poor. He loved school. He definitely was one of those, like, professional student types. I barely got through high school. I couldn't stand it. No friggin' way. I'll pass. It was not for me. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Definitely the stuff on the gay pride thing. Yeah. Let's do it. Huh? Oh, sorry. Just the first segment of hour 2. That gay pride stuff is the only part. Got it. Okay. Final hour of a Tuesday/Wednesday edition of the show. Thank you for being a part of it. Yankees spanking that. I can't. Can I say that? Can I say Yankees spanking that Adam's apple? Can I say that? I think I could say that, right? No, I think I could say the other word. I'm pretty sure it's safe. Because that's what the Yankees are doing to the Mariners again tonight. After spanking that last night. Aaron Judge hit 2 home runs last night. He robbed a third. He basically had 3 home runs. He hit 2, he robbed another. And tonight he hits another home run. Anthony Volpe's hit a home run. Greg Allen's hit a home run. I think Mel Allen is come back from the dead and he's hit a home run. How about that? Yankees all over the Mariners tonight. Mariners just cannot. I don't think everybody anticipated that the Mariners were going to be the second best team in the AL West. That was kind of their spot. Astros best team, Mariners second best. Mariners compete for a wild card. They could keep sort of being that team. And then all of a sudden, the Texas Rangers decided to just screw everything up. They're having this insane first third of the season. The run differential is off the charts. And now all of a sudden, if you're Seattle, you're going to be struggling just to be the last wild card team. Whereas last year, you thought you can get there. This year, it's going to be really hard for the Mariners. There's a lot of good teams in baseball. A lot of good second-best teams in baseball. You go look at the standings right now and pull them up here real quick. They might flash on the screen behind me here on our tidbit that we have in the background. But look at Tampa Bay's 39-18. By the way, Tampa Bay was running away with everything. Now they're 5-5 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. And Baltimore is just 2 games behind the Rays on the loss side in the AL East. And the Yankees are very much in the rearview mirror, just 5 back on the loss side of Tampa Bay. Yankees are 10 games over 500. So all of a sudden you start looking around. Tampa Bay is obviously the division leader. The AL Central is only going to get 1 team in the playoffs. So you've got 3 wild card spots to basically be decided between the AL East and the AL West. Problem is, Texas and Houston are both making the playoffs if you start to look at it now. Right? So there's one of your wild card teams. I don't know if I'm still questioning whether Baltimore has the staying power. Their bullpen has been really good through the first third of the season. It is really tough if you rely on your bullpen as much as they do to get that sort of output from your bullpen for an entire season. Bullpens burn out. Ask the Rays. It happens to them. It feels like it happens to them a lot. So all of a sudden, you start to look around. Where's that second and third wild card team? I mean, the Yankees right now, they're the 3rd wild card team in the American League. Yankees are the 3rd wild card team at 33-23. It's going to be a tough slog for Seattle. Unless something crazy happens and Texas comes back to the pack or Baltimore comes back to the pack. I mean, Toronto has really struggled. We'll talk with their baseball columnist at the Toronto Star later in this hour, Mike Wilner, about the whole Anthony Bass controversy. It's part of our 2-for-1 tonight. Daryl Guru Johnson will join us in the about 25 minutes from now from 95.7 The Game in San Francisco to talk about Bob Myers stepping down as the general manager of the Golden State Warriors. All these middle-of-the-pack teams, Detroit, 25. I think the most interesting thing, even beyond the wild cards, is going to be the AL Central. Because right now, Minnesota leads that division. You want to know how bad the AL Central is? Ready for this, Charles? I can give you this. AL Central right now. Minnesota's 28-27. They've lost 6 of 10. Detroit is 25-28. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Cleveland is 24-30. Very disappointing. They've lost 6 of 10. The White Sox are 23-34. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Kansas City 17-39. They've lost 7 of 10. Nobody in that division is playing well. Yeah, I think a lot of people are shocked by Cleveland. I think the small ball thing just isn't working for him. Jose Ramirez has had a rough year so far. Go look at his numbers. Andres Jimenez has had a tough season. They're just not getting – they don't have a lot of big bats in that lineup. They're not going to bop you over the head with home runs. So when their bats are struggling, they're really going to struggle. So it's been tough sledding for Cleveland. I think the truly interesting story there, especially if that division stays a 500 sort of division, watch Detroit. The Tigers are on the come. Riley Green, they brought him up last year. He started to play a bit. This year he's starting to develop into one of those special kind of players. Got a few tools, can do a few different things. Spencer Torkelson was awful last year. Off to a little bit of a better start this year. Javi Baez, of course. That Detroit team could be interesting in the Central. I don't think they're going to win anything, even if they make the playoffs. But at least in Detroit, you're going to have 4-5 months of interesting baseball this year, because I don't think anybody's going to run away in that division. Nick Saban's got to stop whining. I mean, you're the head coach at Alabama. You've got access to every recruit on the planet. You've got these monster rosters. You get players in the portal, all this different stuff. And now Nick Saban wants to tell you, as the head coach with the highest salary in all of college football, most national championships in the history of college football, Nick Saban wants to tell you that he's not a fan of name, image, and likeness and the issues surrounding the overall financial picture that is facing college sports. So Saban was asked about the prospect of not just the NIL stuff, but now college athletes unionizing, being treated as employees. A concept he says he supports as a way to combat the inequity created by the varying NIL laws from state to state. Quote, "Yeah, I have no problem with that. Unionize it. Make it like the NFL," Saban said. I mean, if it's going to be the same for everyone, I think that's better than what we have now. Because what we have now is we have some states and some schools and some states are investing a lot more money in terms of managing their roster than others. And I think this is going to create a real competitive disadvantage for some in the future. And it's also going to create an imbalance in the competitive nature of the sport, which that's not good for the sport. No, it's not good for Nick Saban. Because right now he enjoys the fact that there's really only about 8 to 10 schools that have a chance to win a national championship every year. If that number doubles, it's not good for Nick Saban. I mean, think about it. If every year you go into a situation and only 8 to 10 teams have a chance to win a national championship, and you're one of those 8 to 10 teams, well, then you have every motivation to wish for the status quo, or as close to the status quo as possible. And with NIL, now it's the wild, wild west. You could just get outbid for players now. And while I do think there needs to be some sort of legislating of, and I'm not talking about from the federal government, I'm just talking about from college sports in general. I mean, the NCAA could screw up a cup of coffee, so I don't expect them to ever get this right. But there does need to be some reining in of how this is done. And I don't think anybody was prepared for the wild, wild west nature of NIL and what it would mean. Now you're into the couple of years of this. Now you've got to start to figure out a way to create a situation where you're able to sort of put guardrails on how much each school could do, almost a salary cap of sorts if you have to. And I know salary caps are it's a very anti-union thing to have salary caps. Players will always say, no to salary caps. But if what you truly want is parity in your sport, salary caps is the best way to get there. But with a salary cap needs to come a floor. There's a ceiling. You can only spend this much. There's a floor. You have to spend at least this much. Otherwise, you could be the A's and have a $20 million payroll and make a mockery of the sport. I mean, there's AAA baseball teams that are better than the Oakland A's. And I'm not just talking about from an attendance standpoint. I'm talking in terms of talent. There's better AAA teams than the Oakland A's. Seriously, they're that bad. And that breaks my heart to say as somebody who goes to a lot of their games. But Nick Saban doesn't really want that. Nick Saban says parity is the answer. Everything they do in the NFL is to create what? Parity, Saban said. He said, well, if you think there's disparity in college football right now, there's going to be a lot more in the future. There will be greater disparity, but there will be more teams than 10 that are able to compete for a national championship. We're coming back. More of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've never been to Alabama. I'll be quite honest. The southeastern part of the United States I've seen the least of that than anything. Like, I've been to Florida. I've only driven through the rest of the South. I've been to Texas and a little bit of that. I've been to Arizona in the Southwest. I've been to the Northwest. I've been to the central part of the country. But I have spent less time in the Southeast than anywhere in this country. And it's just not a part of the country that I'm like anxious to even go to. And it's nothing like against it. It's just an area that, yeah. No. Oh, God, yeah. I've heard great things about Austin. Guys, I think I might have told you, my husband's going to Austin next month. I think like the 8th and 9th of July. It's like a Friday, Saturday, and I'm thinking of going. I'm thinking of going down there for a couple of days with him. He's got to go for work. I'd like to get to Atlanta and spend some time there. I have more than a few friends there, and I've heard it's basically become like the Hollywood of the East. Yeah. Oh, yeah. MISSISSIPPI. Yep. By the way, producer, engineer Charles, also in the podcast time, make sure to add the announcement of the sports wrap that we did in the second hour, if you don't mind. If you can make that addition. If not, then don't worry about it. I talked about it about an hour ago on the show. We got a new TV show coming out, weekly 30-minute TV show, which is going to be popping up on TV stations and sports networks around the country. We're in the process of getting distribution deals done for it. It's called The Sports Wrap. It will also be available on my YouTube page. Decibel 88 is the name of our YouTube channel. But the bigger and broader idea is we wanted to actually put it on television where people can just go and get it on their TV, various TV platforms. So keep an eye out for it. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page. I said that in segment 2 of the second hour of the show. Thanks, Charles. Appreciate that. So we got a new TV show coming, and we'll have another announcement tomorrow regarding something we're doing with Twitter that you're going to want to check out as well. You can watch our show that we do every night here on Twitter. If you have Twitter, all you got to do is go to Twitter and at the back page, follow me there. And you're going to want to be following me on Twitter at the back page when you hear what we are announcing tomorrow night on the show. It's going to be something just for our Twitter audience. So if you're not following me on Twitter at the back page, go there now and do it. Oh, Aaron Judge is up for the Yankees in the top of the 9th inning. He's already got I think it's his AL. Does anybody have more home runs in the AL this year? American League home run leaders. Let's see here. American League home run leaders. That's ball 4 to Judge. He walks. Wow, he didn't get called. They didn't punch him out on a low strike 3 call. He gets more bad strike 3 calls down in the zone. Pete Alonso leads all of baseball in home runs with 20. Aaron Judge leads the AL in home runs with 18 now. Adolis Garcia is second with 14. Yordan Alvarez of your Houston Astros also has 14. Rafi Devers has 13, and Louis Robert has 13. So, wow. But I didn't know Bo Bichette was leading the AL in batting average. Hitting .331 for that bad Blue Jays team that's in dead last now in the American League East, even though they're 28 and 26. Take this for what it's worth. The Blue Jays are 28 and 26. They're dead last in the AL East. They would be in first place in the American League Central. It's just laughable. Luis Arraez, by the way, is leading the National League in hitting at .376. Hey, while we're at it, because I haven't done a lot with sports betting tonight. Tomorrow night, by the way, I want to mention this again. We will be joined in the second hour, the entire second hour of the show. I will have Nick Ferguson co-hosting the show with me. I never do the co-host thing, but I thought it would be fun. We'll be joined by Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety. He will be my guest in the second hour of the show tomorrow night. Looking forward to that. What happened here? Oh, that's a base hit. Shouldn't be an out. And there's no way to review that because the Yankees already used their challenge. What are they doing? Well, the Yankees are trying to get it figured out. Yeah, Yankees are challenging. So Miami is +9 tomorrow night in the NBA Finals, Thursday night, NBA Finals Game 1. They are +360 to win the NBA title. Denver is -500. We'll talk about that tomorrow night on the show with Nick Ferguson, who is in Denver, so no better person to talk about it with than Nick Ferguson. while we're on baseball, we're a third of the way through the season, so you start taking stock in, who's going to do what. Right now, Major League Baseball odds to win the World Series. Right, Charles, I'm going to put you under the gun here. You ready? All right. Who do you think has the best odds to win the World Series right now? No. Why would the Yankees have the best odds? No. Yankees are 5th. Astros are 4th. The Yankees are plus 1,200, meaning you wager $100 and the Yankees win the World Series, you win $1,200. That's a great value bet as far as I'm concerned. The Astros are plus 700. They're 4th. Why would the Indians? Are you paying attention to what the Indians are terrible this year? Oh my God. I can't. I'm never asking you these questions again. The Dodgers are plus 470. They have the best odds to win the World, the lowest odds to win the World Series. Well, I should say the highest odds. Yeah. Plus 470. So if you bet $100 on the Dodgers right now, they win the World Series, you'd win 470. The Braves have the next best odds at plus 480. The Rays have the third best odds at plus 600. This is nuts. You know who has you know what? Yeah, I'm sure you were. Yeah, I believe that. As far as I could throw you, and I've seen how big you are, so that's not far. Yes, I did. I'll do you one better. The 6th best odds to win the World Series right now is absolutely laughable to me. The Toronto Blue Jays have the 6th best odds to win the World Series. And they're in dead last in the AL East right now. Who is making this up? Like, what is going on here? This is wacky stuff. Tampa Bay has the best odds to win the AL East. What you would expect, minus 230. The Twins are minus 300 to win the AL Central. Astros have the best odds to win the AL West at minus 145. The Rangers not far behind at plus 240. There's just some weirdness going on. Some real weirdness. These odds make no sense to me right now. Like, normally the odds makers have their finger on the pulse of this stuff. I don't see it at all right now. AL MVP odds right now. Again, this doesn't make any sense. AL MVP odds right now. Ohtani is minus 125. He has the best odds to win the MVP. Aaron Judge has the next best odds at plus 600. Yordan Alvarez is plus 2,000. He has the third best odds. Like, what are these people watching? I mean, Ohtani's having a nice... It's not like he's putting up monster numbers. I mean, am I missing something? I'm just going to look up Ohtani here real quick. Here's Ohtani right now. 5-1, 2.91 ERA. Pitching-wise, having a good year. At the plate, let's see. Ohtani as a hitter... Let's see if we can pull this up here. Stats as a hitter. Why can't I find his stats as a hitter? Oh, there it is. I got to click the tab here. Ohtani as a hitter right now is 263, 13 and 34. Not monster numbers. I mean, I get the fact that he could do two things. That's great. He's not the best pitcher in the league, though. He's not the best hitter in the league. So because he could do two things really well, you're going to make it. I don't get it. And I wonder if they slip in the standings, which they're always a Mike Trout, 6-week stint on the injury list for a groin or something. They're always one injury away from going into a slide for, 6 weeks. Happens all the time with that team. It's just, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Got a text from our friend Paul listening in California. Heard my story earlier about being openly gay. Said, thank you for sharing your story. I know your story will give strong strength and self-esteem to people who are struggling with being who they authentically are. You are their hero yet again. Thank you, Paul. Means the world to me coming from you. Thank you. We're back with Daryl Guru Johnson. Stay tuned. Okay. Thank you. Rolling along on this Tuesday edition of the show. I always hate having to talk about these stories because they obviously hit close to home for me. For anybody who listens to the show, you obviously know my own story and who I am. But every now and again, we get these stories in sports radio, sports media, involving these athletes that undoubtedly say or do something that is of a politically insensitive nature or rolling along on this Tuesday edition of the show. It's 2 for 1 time on the show. Let's talk a little bit about one of the big stories of the day with my man Daryl Guru Johnson. Catch him on 95.7 The Game, weekday mornings 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. And get some thoughts with him. Get some thoughts with him on this big story involving Bob Myers, which, let's be honest, Goo, it's not a huge surprise that Bob Myers stepped down. He had, there had been some talk throughout the season that this would be sort of the end of the line for him. So what was the reaction both for you and the audience and the fan base in San Francisco with Myers deciding to depart?
I love you, JP. Thanks for the invite, but I'll tell you this. A lot of people are having fun to call us the listeners.
In San Francisco with Myers.
Courtside seat. And they're like, oh, Guru. I didn't see it coming.
It's 2 for 1 time on the show. Let's talk a little bit about one of the big stories of the day with my man Daryl Guru Johnson. Catch him on 95.7 The Game, weekday mornings 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. And get some thoughts with him. Get some thoughts with him. It's 2 for 1 time on the show. Let's talk a little bit about one of the big stories of the day with my man Daryl Guru Johnson. Catch him on 95.7 The Game, weekday mornings 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.